Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month event. As those of you know, today is the last day for recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month. However, we should also be aware that 1 month is not enough to recognize the commitment and the dedication that our sisters and brothers in the Hispanic and Latino community has contributed to the things that are going on today in society. So today we are having a panel presentation. My name is Sharon Stroy. I'm the Director of Public Engagement in the School of Public Affairs and Administration. My role is to connect our faculty, staff, students, and alumni to our community partners. But one of the things that we want to do is to also highlight the awesome alumni that have graduated from the School of Public Affairs and Administration. This panel represents the best and the brightest of what SPAA has produced, what SPAA has offered. Today, we're going to hear about the power of the vote. As everyone knows, it is an election season. It is probably one of the most important presidential elections, but not just presidential, but other things that are on the ballot as well. So the theme for the academic year in SPAA is the power of the vote, registration, education, and awareness. This is our second event in the series. And this title is The Power of the Vote, the impact that it is having on Hispanic communities. Our moderator is Sarah Pena. Sarah was born and raised in the city of Newark. She is born into Ecuador and Dominican parents. She is currently the director of the Center for Hispanic Policy Research and Development in the state. She is a dedicated bilingual professional. She is award-winning, recognized throughout the state for her commitment to the community, as well as to the state and communities throughout the entire state. She has prior to her current position, she worked in the Public Affairs Department at University Hospital, where she managed hospital overall community outreach programming, ranging from partnerships with local government agencies, educational institutions, faith-based, law enforcement, and municipal alliances. She received her bachelor's degree in management from King University, and while at King, became a sister of Mu Sigma Epsilon Sorority Incorporated in 2014. Ms. Pena received her master's degree in public administration from the School of Public Affairs and Administration and inducted into the National Honor Society of Pi Alpha Alpha. She has been twice named New Jersey's Insider and Policymaker Power List. Her work speaks for itself. Inspired by her son Anthony, Ms. Pena founded the Boys Leaders Foundation in 2013. Its mission is to empower and motivate young men, providing leadership training, educational programs, and a positive personal and professional development. Ms. Pena serves on the executive board of the Lupe Fund, an organization dedicated to the empowerment of Latinos in New Jersey, and has given her the opportunity to serve on committees engaging our youth. She currently serves on the executive committee and the immediate past president, has served in the capacity of president for 3 years, treasurer, co-chair of the Young Latina Leadership Conference, chair and co-founder of the Scholarship Committee, and is actively engaging Latinas in the Lupe mission. Wow. It is my pleasure to introduce Sarah Pena, our moderator for tonight's panel. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sharon, for that lovely introduction. Thank you all. It is an honor to be here with all of you today in such a dynamic panel. I want to just recognize and give, really to school at Rutgers University for being a Hispanic serving institution with 27% Latinx students. And so that is why forums like these are so important, and that SPAA has taken the lead in hosting these kinds of events and being innovative and intentional about ensuring that our communities are educated, and not only the community, but building that bridge between the community and the students, which is key, especially in SPAA. And so a lot of the work that we do is all related to community work. So that relationship has to be there. So I just want to commend Sharon for her leadership and the entire team and faculty at staff, the student leaders for the great programs that are at SPAA. And I am just proud to be part of that family. Like we say in Spanish, la familia. So I am very, very excited about today's conversation. It is something that we need to have, those real conversations, and this is where it happens. So I just want to say that this year for Hispanic Heritage Month, the theme is be proud of your past and embrace your future. So let's think about that for a second. Let's think about all our past experiences that have gotten us to where we are today. Let's appreciate those struggles because we were able to turn them around and be who we are today as we continue to move forward and embrace our future. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce this amazing panel of dynamic women from SPAA who have done extraordinary things throughout our community and that continue to be leaders. And I need to read their bios because if I don't, I would be doing a disservice to them and to all of you who are listening so that you get to hear a little bit more about who these women are. First, I'd like to introduce Yvette Mosquera. Yvette graduated from SPAA with her MPA in 2005 and is currently the Director of Marketing and Development at Matheny School and Hospital in Peapack, New Jersey. She serves as a board of directors at the League of Women Voters of New Jersey and a board member and past president of LUPE, also known as Latinas United for Political Empowerment. Thank you for being with us, Yvette. Do you just want to say a quick hello?
Yes, hello, Sarah. Hello, my fellow panelists. Sharon, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I feel really honored, I really do, because I feel that, you know, such accomplished women like Sarah, Maria, and Gabriella, you know, used to be a rare sight. And now I see more women like them, and I love that. So I'm just happy to be here. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Yvette. Next, we have Maria Zamora Porras, currently serves as the Program Manager for Undocumented Student Services at Rutgers University, Newark. Maria received a BA in Public and Nonprofit Administration at Rutgers University, Newark, and is completing her MPA at SPAA. Prior, Maria served as a coordinator for undocumented student services and the Office of Student Life and Leadership at Rutgers University in Newark. During her time at Rutgers, Maria has worked to empower undocumented students by coordinating community building programs, facilitating educational trainings, and sharing her personal narrative of being a first-generation college student and an immigrant. Maria was a former Newman Fellow and Senator for the School of Public Affairs and Administration. She is also one of our beautiful Lupe sisters who served and volunteered on the scholarship committee to identify top Latinas who were able to gain the scholarship through Lupe. So thank you, Maria, for your work and your commitment. And do you want to just say hello to everyone real quickly?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm extremely honored, and for Director Stroid for creating the space for all of us to be here and talk to fellow SPAA students.
Excellent. It's great to have you, Maria, to see our young people doing amazing things like you are. And last but certainly not least, Gabriella Sevilla. Born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, to a Puerto Rican mother and an Ecuadorian father. Gabriella is an Equal Justice Works Fellow sponsored by Pfizer, Inc. at Homeless Persons Representation Project in Baltimore, Maryland. There, she leads the DREAM, Disability Representation, Education, Advocacy, Medical, Legal Partnership, where she represents healthcare for the homeless clients in public benefit cases. That's amazing, Gabriela. I have to tell you, that servant leadership that you have. She also received her BA from Rutgers University in Newark in Public and Nonprofit Administration and her JD from Howard University School of Law. While in law school, she represented clients with housing conditions issues in DC. Gabriela was awarded Clinical Law Student of the Year in 2018 at Howard University School of Law of the Year in 2019 and many more prestigious recognitions. Her commitment to ending homelessness has been featured in the Washington Post, Street Sense, Univision, and Telemundo. She currently lives in Baltimore, Maryland. Welcome, Gabriela. It is a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being our host and for Dean Stroy for inviting me, not forgetting about me, even though I left Jersey.
No matter where you go, you're still a Jersey girl.
100%.
So let's get started right away, because these are some really great questions. It's going to be a great time. It's a conversation. If any of our attendees have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or we'll definitely get to all the questions. And if we don't, we'll definitely respond via email. I'm sure Sharon will help us out with that as well. So question number one, what has the SPAA degree helped you attain in your professional career? Has it been a benefit, and why? Someone would like to jump in first.
I can start. So back in 2005, I received my master's in public administration. And ever since then, it's just opened doors for me. It's such a great degree because it's very flexible and can be applied to many, many areas. I found that you can apply it to government, you can apply it to the nonprofit sector, education, even in business. I think with the MPA, you learn a lot about how to run a business. It really showed me how to become a good manager. Then I became an administrator, then a director. And I find that a lot of the things that I learned in my master's degree were actually pretty practical and applicable. Things like project management tools, like creating a Gantt chart, or budgeting. Budgeting was very important, to me, and that came in very handy when I was at the medical school at Rutgers. And I just feel like it's the people that you meet along the way while you're getting your degree at Rutgers also become very, they become like friends. You may not keep in touch with everyone, but the ones that you do keep in touch with, you see them a lot in your professional circles, and they're all to me, I've seen everybody be so successful with it. So I really enjoyed my my master's degree, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
Thank you, Yvette. Maria?
So this SPA degree has helped me in so many ways. I remember as an undergrad, we would take special classes and just had a network inside of Rutgers Newark, and outside we would find a CEO and have a conversation with this individual and talk about our inspirations and what we would like to do in the future. And that really got us out of our comfort zone. For sure, people were getting interviews with very important individuals in major institutions. And that's how I was able to network into my way for my job. As a young professional, I graduated and immediately I was hired by Rutgers. And I think that I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't take those classes and was pushed out of my comfort zone in order for my benefit in general. As well, now that I'm doing my master's, I'm learning so many new things, like Yvette was saying about project management and budgeting. All of these things that I'm doing in my classes, I'm transferring into my job. I'm handling an entire office now. So everything that I am learning has 100% transferred into my everyday job.
I will certainly agree with you 100%, Maria. I have to tell you that when I went into, getting my degree, it was kind of the same thing. We just focus on, you think you're just going to hear theories and stuff, but you're not. It's real life situations, and you're able to apply those to your job and so forth. And it was so, so helpful. So I love that you mentioned that. Gabriella?
So definitely I continued with public service. So I'm a public interest lawyer, right? So I went to law school and I knew I wanted to help people. I didn't even know this area of free lawyers who help with civil issues. And as a SPA student, I interned with Winona's House Child Advocacy Center. It's there on Washington, right? By the light rail. And doing the same thing, right? I'm helping families much, for the same reasons too, families facing neglect and abuse, or, trying to secure income with food stamps or Social Security disability benefits. There's a lot of trauma in Newark and Baltimore, you know, I'm able to like relate those two cities to each other. And I'm even like working on a grant right now, which I also learned when I was a SPAA student, trying to make sure I stay here, leading my medical legal partnership. And, you know, even in the in-between. So I graduated from SPAA in 2015. And then I was a teacher in Newark, AmeriCorps, downtown by, it was brand new, the, what do you call it? Teachers Village. So at Great Oaks, and still like, what is a school? It's a nonprofit, right? And how is it run and all of that. So I transferred those skills there, went to law school, you know, and I was really happy I could marry the both of them. And Howard was a school that was like ranked top for public interest and civil rights, right? And I'm like, well, that's what we do as SPA students, right? We serve others and, you know, we're like embedded in our community. So I'm a community lawyer, and I think without SPA, I wouldn't be here.
So I do have to ask you a little follow-up question, Gabriella. So coming from SPA, how did you decide to go into law? Why law, and why that specific law? Why that branch?
Well, I mean, what did you say before? Be proud of your past and embrace your future, right? So like, I have unfortunately had a family that faced eviction, foreclosure. You know, my mom's main source of income, my family's main source of steady income was Social Security disability benefits. And I was food stamp kid, right? Like we had WIC, food stamps, you know, all the things to make sure my family stayed healthy and like income secure. I had no school though to help with those things. So I originally went to law school, like I want to help children, right? No idea how, right? And so I chose law school because what I found was I could be a teacher and help this one classroom full of kids, but I need to do more, like something more systemic, maybe policy. Like I chose Howard in DC. I thought it would be on the Hill or something, but the 2016 election changed my focus to more direct legal services. And that's where I am. So yeah, embracing what I learned, the term was lived experience, and translating that into like, yeah, like I didn't learn about this stuff in a textbook. Like I lived it, and I came with my clients in a unique way that not many folks can. And so I'm living my truth.
Yes, I love that. I love that because it's so important that your story is probably not that different from many of us that come from urban communities, but it's how you leveraged those lessons that you learned that made you the successful woman that you are today and that you will continue to be. So I think that's really key to remember what we're talking about, especially I thought this theme was so great that, you know, for Hispanic Heritage Month about being proud of where we come from. You know, so thank you for sharing. You know, in the last presidential election, more than half of college students did not vote. An estimated 48% of students voted compared to more than 70% of senior citizens, a serious imbalance that ultimately means less attention to the needs of the students in their colleges. What do you think are some of the issues that impact our Latinx community today? And we'll start with Gabriella.
Issues that impact, well, right now, COVID, I feel like we see a disparity in a lot of Latinx communities. Health disparities with COVID. The eviction and housing crisis hits us harder to our undocumented folks who aren't eligible for a lot of these support and services like food stamps. Well, their children would be, but that's another barrier I see with my clients, not recognizing that you could still receive a lot of these public benefits if your children, you know, are US citizens or have a social security number. So we're not like a monolith, like there's no one issue I feel like the Latinx community is trying to overcome right now. Immigration's always a big one, but immigration too is not only a Latinx issue. You know, like we have our Haitian brothers and sisters too struggling now. So I think there's a lot. I think we have a lot at stake with this election, and I'm most concerned about, you know, the housing crisis and public benefits because they've already been under attack through the Trump administration. And now is not the time for them to continue to be dismantled.
All right. Thank you, Gabriela. Thank you. Maria?
Yeah, exactly like Gabriella said, there's so many issues right now that the Latinx community faces, especially during COVID. But the one that has affected my students the most, especially the Latinx community, is not being part of the CARE Act. They're not receiving any funding. They didn't get anything. And like you said, only 48% of students voted, and the reason is why. And are we going to see a decrease or an increase of students voting because of this crisis that we're currently seeing? And the reason why maybe it might be a decrease is because of all the struggles that they're going through, and there isn't any financial aid given to these individuals, particularly even our students who are U.S. citizens and their parents are undocumented. They're not getting any aid either. So right now, it's the financial necessity that we're seeing in the Latin community, and not just only the Latin community, but we are aware that a lot of our undocumented folks are from the Latinx community. So right now, that is, I think, the prominent issue that causes housing insecurity and food insecurity is the lack of financial resources available to these individuals. And I have to say that Rutgers University, Newark, I can't speak on behalf of any other campus, but they have 100% put in every effort to help our undocumented students and our international students during this crisis. To a certain extent, of course, they're also an institution that needs revenue, but has 100% stepped up in helping our undocumented individuals receive some type of aid.
That's great. That's great. That's good to hear, because I've seen that they're doing that as well and giving those, that information. That's important that all colleges do that, share that information with the students. Yvette, did you want to add something to the question?
Yeah, I think Maria and Gabriela are right on. This COVID crisis has hurt everyone, but for some reason, I was reading recently, I think it was in Forbes, that Latino business owners have suffered even more than their Caucasian counterparts. They've lost, I think it's like 42% more revenue, and that affects their families, right? We have a lot of Latino-owned businesses, restaurants, cleaning, you name it. There's a lot, but for some reason there's a big disparity when it comes to the earnings. And also, when you mentioned, Maria, the PPP loans from the government, they came out with a study that looked at it, and basically they said that the PPP loans were given out mostly by big banks, and it was really hard for Latinos to navigate those big banks and to get those loans approved for some reason. Could be discrimination, it could be maybe the person didn't understand the application process, the resources, the language. I'm sure there's a bunch of reasons, but the economy is a big issue, I think, for Latinos, right? Because that's how they put food on the table. And that's when you see the housing crisis that Gabriela was talking about. So that was the first issue that I had, thought about as well, was the economy. And also thinking about the pay disparities for women. One of the reasons that I got involved with Lupin and with League of Women Voters is because I want to see more women in leadership positions. I want to see more moms, more single moms become, board members, become corporate, lawyers and directors, so that they can earn what they deserve. They study hard, they work hard, but there's still a disparity, right? You still see that wage gap. I think it is that Latinas earn 52 cents to every dollar that a white man earns. And there's no excuse for it, right? Because sometimes Latinos even work harder at their jobs and still earn less. So, that's one of the reasons that I think it's really, really, really important that we vote for the politicians who have our best interests, in their, our best interests are at stake if we don't vote.
So like we say, vote like our life depends on it. Right? So that's really, really key. That's the bottom line. Just go out and vote. So I'm going to turn this question over to you, Yvette, doing the work that you do with the League of Women Voters in New Jersey and the amazing work that they're doing in educating our communities, bipartisan, just really just sharing information, especially in New Jersey with the voting, my ballot, and so forth. How does someone know if they're registered to vote?
So it's actually really easy. You can go on vote.nj.gov and you just type in your first name, last name, date of birth. That's it. And then you click on search, your name should pop up if you've already registered. So if you, let's say, registered a really long time ago and you have never voted, you might be an inactive registered voter. So you may have to go to your local election office and find out if you can get that activated. But new registered, the registrations ended October 13th. So if you did not register for at all at any time, it's pretty much too late. But you can register and vote in the next election. Next year, I'm sure there's local elections every year. There's local elections that are very important. So that's how you do it. Basically, go to vote.nj.org, or you can go to the League of Women Voters website, lwvnj.org.
So I think we'll be able to share some of those links through an email. I think Sharon might be able to do that as well as a resource. So ladies, this election, we know how important it is, especially to our communities. Can you give examples of ways we can get out the vote, or ways you're personally going to make sure that you get out the vote? Gabriella, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, so I've already looked up, there's early voting in my area, and other things I've done. So we also had the deadline of October 13th to register. Before that, some clients reached out, and I was gonna send them paperwork too to help them register to vote or connect them with the local board of elections. So helping folks register to vote, I guess. Maybe non-New Jersey folks still have a chance to help someone register. Make a plan, how you're going to get there, what day you're going to go. Do you need to take off work? Do you need someone to watch your kids? We're seeing some reports of even these early voting lines being really long. Bring a chair, go out there, bring some water, masks. Thinking of all the different, how to reduce these barriers to the polls, right? So if, we got to figure out how to make sure everyone has a ride there. And that's important. So just if you can look to your neighbors and friends and say what's keeping you from getting there? And then it might have been too late too to request a mail-in ballot. So early voting, day of the polls, I think, is a time where we can, hopefully you don't have work that day already, but if not, take off and see how you can help someone get their self to the polls.
Yeah, that's a great point. In some states, they have that early voting, and someone said earlier today in a conversation I was having, it's think about it like you're going to Starbucks, right? Don't you put on your mask and stand in a line and stand 6 feet apart? So go out there, stand in the polls and vote. So I know in New Jersey it's mail-in, but some of these other states that maybe some of our students are also in, there's that early voting that they can go to the poll.
Can I clarify a little bit about the way that New Jersey does the vote?
Sure, go right ahead, Yvette. Sure.
So in New Jersey, every registered voter is eligible to receive a vote by mail ballot. So if you registered early on, maybe a few years ago, last year, you should have already received your vote by mail ballot, every single person who's registered. If you registered by October the 13th, you should be getting your vote by mail ballot pretty soon. So you don't really have to go in person. They made it really easy in New Jersey for us to vote by mail, and it's very secure. And I can go into the security of it later on, but I just wanted to let everybody know that in New Jersey, you don't have to stand in line for hours and hours. And if you have your vote by mail ballot, fill it out, send it in early, or go drop it off in a ballot, box, and you'll be fine. And you don't have to sit outside and wait. Of course, in other states, you probably do, but so everything that Gabriella said was right on, but in New Jersey, they made it a little bit easier for us, for registered voters.
And so, Yvette, what are you doing to get out the vote?
me, I am sharing on social media. I'm talking to my family. I'm talking to my friends. They all get annoyed by me, but I don't care, you know? And, you know, it's like, you guys got to vote. You got, you know, I just go in there and try to be enthusiastic about it. So, and also help them to understand, because a lot of people have told me, oh, my vote doesn't count. Why should I vote? Or, you know, I don't like either candidate, you know? So I try to explain to people that it's not just about, you know, the presidential election. It's also about our everyday lives, right? Who we elect will make decisions for us, whether it's about healthcare, whether it's about employment. It could be about, you know, the local elections, right? It could be about a transportation issue in your town. It could be about your kid's school. So board of elections, they matter a lot, right? The way I look at it is, if I don't vote for my board of education elections, then I don't have a right to complain about what they're doing in my kids' schools. You know, I feel that I have to go out there and vote so that I can help make those decisions happen. I'm not going to let somebody else make those decisions for me. So that's the way that I look at it. So just talking to people, you know, reminding them, and like Gabriella said, you know, helping them to get out and vote. So if I have to drive somebody somewhere, I will drive them, you know, to get to the polling place. And also just through our work, you know, with you and everybody else, through our work with Lupe and the League of Women Voters of New Jersey, we're constantly sharing information. If there's something new that came up, maybe the governor changed some law or something, we share it. We share that information and we try to educate each other.
Thank you, Yvette. Maria?
Yeah, so in terms of what I'm doing, I am a DACA recipient, so I'm not allowed to vote. I would love to. You have no idea. I was raised in New Jersey. All I've ever known is New Jersey. So I would love to for my vote to count, but unfortunately, I can't right now. But what I can do is encourage others to vote and educate people that process. And I always tell my friends, I tell any family members that could vote to do so. But in terms of my students, I encourage them to do the same, because social media is very powerful and it could change someone's mind. In terms of what SPA students as well could do, there's so many organizations on campus that encourage other people to vote, like NJ We have a ballot bowl competition that Rutgers University has won 2 years in a row. We have the most registered students on campus across the country. So that's one way that we could, as undocumented immigrants, is to encourage our documented or US citizen peers to go out and vote, because this election does matter. Though I don't have a voice, I could encourage other people who do have that power to vote in my favor and vote for the right thing to do.
Oh my God, that's so powerful what you just said. You know, that is powerful, Maria. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. And yes, congratulations to Rutgers, because you did win the ballot bowl that is under our Department of State. Secretary of State host every year. So it's great. Congratulations. And that's my boss. Well, along with Governor Murphy, but I work directly with the Secretary of State. And she's so excited when that time comes around, you know, for ballot bowl. So yes, congratulations. I do want to just add something, you know, what can we do? For example, my mom, she's 83. She gets this mail-in ballot. How can I get her to vote? Like, say, Mom, don't forget, this is important. How can we communicate with our seniors, you know, and make sure that they get the vote? Because they're used to going downstairs to the community building, pulling the lever. So they may not be familiar. Does anybody want to just jump in with some advice or personal experience that they have on how do we encourage our senior citizen community to vote?
Well, I know they're high risk, right, for COVID and everything. So it's the safest way to vote is using the mail-in ballot, and maybe even just playing back to what we just talked about of what's on the line, right? Like educating them on how this affects us. And even if, you know, they feel whatever way about the presidential election, these local elections, like have the biggest immediate impact, right? Like who, I don't know, like for us in Baltimore City, we have, you know, the mayor is up for election and the city council and what their agendas, right, are on the line. We have some transit equity issues here too. So, you know, if anything, they might be more invested in what's going on locally. And if a local election is on the line too, educating them on that, because some folks might still be conflicted after why on the presidential election, but at least, you know, locally, they always see the most immediate impact, right? Like the 4 years, the president's so far away, right? They're in the White House. What's happening in their community, you know, they might understand what's at stake.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's making it more personal for them, like they can more relevant, like, you know, hey, if you don't vote, it could affect your programs, your novelas on Univision, right? How you receive cable or something like that. Maybe just making it more personal to them might encourage them. So that's a great point. I want to get to the security question about elections and is voting by mail secure, especially here in New Jersey. I'm going to turn that over to Yvette, and whoever wants to jump in after, please feel free to.
So in New Jersey, we're very lucky because we have ballot boxes, secure ballot boxes in every single county of our state. So there really is no excuse for you to say that the ballot box is too far away. We have multiples, you know, in some counties. And so it's also under surveillance 24/7 on a camera. So I think people don't realize that there's security cameras at every ballot box. And our election officials, they collect the ballots every single day. So it's not like the ballot box is going to get full and then it won't get, you know, but it gets picked up every day. And like I said, it's under 24/7 surveillance. I find that the authorities in New Jersey are very good about, you know, looking for people who are not doing the right thing. Most recently, I think you guys probably saw in the news, there was a male person here in Kearney who took ballots that were supposed to be mailed to West Orange and those areas and he put them in the garbage. He was caught right away. And so if you try to do something and tamper with these, you know, ballots, you will get caught right away. You know, like I said, thank God in New Jersey, the state is doing a really, really good job of, you know, keeping everything safe. And the safest way, I think Gabriella said, because of, you know, our elderly people, right? They're susceptible to COVID. The safest way to mail your ballot. So that way you don't have to stand in line and you can put it in the post office. But if you're afraid to put it in the post office, the secure ballot boxes are a really good way to go. And I was going to say something else about the elderly. Oh, I was going to just chime in on the elderly people. I think, you know, with my parents, you know, I think they love my kids more than they love me. So they vote for them. You know, they vote for their grandkids. If you tell them, look, you know, your grandkids are too young to vote, you should vote for them. You know, do what Maria is saying. You know, let's vote for our family. Let's vote for our community who don't have a voice.
I love that. I love that. Let's vote for our families. It's so important. It makes a difference. And something I said earlier, you know, local elections as well, you know, and Maria mentioned the same thing. They count just as important. And every vote matters. When we say, oh, my vote doesn't matter. Yes, it does, because one vote plus another one, people lose by just 50 to 100 votes. So your vote does matter. Did anyone else want to chime in with the security question or add anything else to that?
Oh, sorry, I did forget to mention one thing. The League of Women Voters US, LWV, has a page where they tell you 5 reasons, 5 ways that your vote is secure. You can read it. They have a lot of really good data and information about how, you know, you can feel safe about voting.
Thank you, Yvette. Maria, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think in-mail voting is super secure. I think the only way your vote would not count is if you did not fill out the ballot correctly. So just for, like, you know, double check your ballot before sending it, and then send it as soon as possible in order for your vote to count. You send it late, your vote won't count. So even though you did your duty as a civil servant to vote, if you don't do it early enough, it won't count. But just to give that clarity in general, but 100% feel free to go and vote by mail. It's completely secure.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. And so we're going to go to our final question before we go to some questions on the chat is what best advice can you give a student who wants to get involved, especially as a SPAA alumni? So if each one of you can take a, stab at the question, that'd be great.
Involved how? Like with voting?
So we see a lot of social injustice rallies. We see a lot of students that want to get involved in protest, but they're afraid, to get caught up in some of the violence that happens because of other people that come along. But they want their voices to be heard, and they want their brothers and sisters to know that they are standing with them. How can they show that? What can they do to try to get involved? Do you have any advice? And as a SPAA alumni, if you've done anything like that, can you give an example?
I can go. So there's a lot of things you can do in terms of activism, and the popular thing to do is social media activism. And knowing how to do it properly can be extremely effective. So there are a lot of workshops out there. I'm sure if you want to look at YouTube videos on order how to do social media activism, which is very similar to like marketing, and how you market that is very effective. So that's one way if you do not want to be at a physical protest, especially for our undocumented folks who are scared of retaliation by the police. Another one for current students would be to join or reach out to the Office of Student Life and Leadership, or any office in general, to see how you can get involved for future ballot bowls and getting our students registered to vote, as well as attending workshops and trainings for Activism 101, because knowing how to be an activist on the ground and on social media is extremely powerful and could be very effective.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. I also think that students can be really helpful when it comes to identifying real news. I feel that there's a lot of misleading, misinformation, a lot of made up things that are circulating on social media, and our tias and our abuelitas are believing everything that pops up on Facebook. So the students, because they're so smart and they understand social media, they know when, hopefully they know that, what's a fake story and what's not. And so I think pointing people, the students can help us by helping their families identify what is a real news source. New York Times, the Washington Post, places like that. Reading a real news source, I think, is really important these days, because you can easily be manipulated by a lot of fake information that's out there. And I found that a lot within my own family. And it's unfortunate, because these are smart people, really intelligent people, who are believing these doctored videos and made up conspiracy theories. And I find that students can help their families understand that those conspiracy theories are just that. They're not the truth.
Thank you, Yvette. Gabriella?
To add on to that, my cousin in Ecuador told me too, their news there is mostly Fox, that talks like really ill of Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, and that's another thing we have to combat, as well as like the misinformation on Facebook, which my dad, he's 69, loves Facebook. Like that's how he calls me from Ecuador, like the Facebook. So that's like multiple layers of information that we have to like re-educate our older generation and family members. But to get involved with the community, I feel like you really have to listen to the community and tap into what work is already being done, especially in New York. I'm pretty sure there's organizers already on the ground, and to volunteer your service. Here in Baltimore City, I've spoken at a few rallies and have been to some protests too. I've also been a legal observer, and you don't have to be a lawyer to be a legal observer through the National Lawyers Guild. You get trained, and the idea is to make sure you're there and protecting people's free speech rights, right? Like, we are entitled to free speech, to protest, And what a legal observer does is they kind of monitor everything and make sure any police interactions are, preserving our free speech rights. So I did that too, even during the pandemic with a mask, if you can, because, a lot of our community too takes care of older folks. So if you can't, that's understandable. Encourage others to, but really understanding the community's needs and what are we fighting for right now. And that's how you become active, right? It's totally different if you're pushing a different agenda than what the community wants. You'll have way more power and buy-in if you're already, working towards what they need, whether it's, defunding the police or transit equity or, things like that.
Excellent advice, ladies. Excellent advice. Really, thank you. And finally, but certainly, we can keep the conversation going. I know on all different topics tonight. This has been really great, but I will ask if each one of you can briefly just kind of share with us as we end today and end Hispanic Heritage Month. And like Sharon said, the celebration is all year long because we love to celebrate and have a party, don't we? And a good party. But, we're going to just wrap it up with some great. We want to hear a little bit about you as we talk about embracing the future. What are your career plans for the future?
I'm sorry, Sarah. There's one question in the chat. One additional question.
Okay, I took the career plans for the future.
There's another one.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So one more, there's another question, ladies, before we go. So if you can just talk a little bit about what your career plans are for the future. We'll start with Gabriella.
I'm a new lawyer, right? I just got the ESQ. My career is just starting. I do not know. Maybe I'll be a judge someday. Maybe, policy. I'm not sure, but I don't see myself ever retiring. And that's just who I am as a person. I am also in my future shepherding other young Latina lawyers too. That we only make up 2% of lawyers in this country, right? I didn't see a lawyer that looked like me until I got to Howard, and that's not right. So I'm down to help fix that and support others. And yeah, it's limitless. I'm not stopping until I figure out how to end homelessness. And we got a lot of work to do. So that's what I have.
That's great. That's great. It's embracing the future, right? Whatever comes your way, you're living your life on purpose with your passion. And so as long as you stay true to that, then, it's limitless, right? Excellent. Maria?
So I'm living one day at a time. But I've always been very interested in corporate philanthropy and philanthropy in general. And there is so much funding out there, and not the right people are in the position of power to give it away. And I think people of color, women, Latinas should be in these positions to locate exactly who needs this funding, because unfortunately money is power and it's necessary. But that is something that I've been extremely interested in, and something that I've been looking into as my MPA finishes too.
Excellent. Excellent.
Maria,
And Yvette?
yeah, Maria, don't forget me when I'm applying for grants. Yeah, I know the person at the top. So yeah, I had actually thought about that same thing. I want to give away big company money as well, but really lately I've been thinking about, my kids are getting older, and my boy is going to be in college in about 2 years, and then my younger one in about 4 years. And I was thinking about getting my PhD after that, and possibly teaching. Maybe I'll go back and teach at SPAA. I don't know, Sharon, wink, wink, in the future, but not yet. I feel like right now I want to dedicate more time to my boys, but I'll be hitting you up in a few years, Sharon.
That's great. That's great. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Sharon, but I'd like to thank the panelists from the bottom of my heart. This was a great conversation, great information shared. I really appreciate you, dynamic leaders. Keep doing the work and know that we are part of the SPA family. So we will always be joined to work together towards creating such a wonderful network that was talked about today, building those bridges and strengthening those relationships throughout our school community at Rutgers. So Sharon, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you, Sharon.
First of all, thank you, Sarah. So wonderful of moderating this panel. There are actually two questions from the audience. The first one is, anybody can take it as we are wrapping up. This will be a very interesting election time at the presidential level. And we know that every vote counts. What would you advise those civilians who are not favoring either candidate?
I actually had a conversation with family members, and these are the only two choices we have right now, right? And so you have to think about which one aligns more with your values. If you value the environment, you might want to go with the president who said that he'll do more for the environment. If you value the economy, you might want to go with the person that says he values more the economy. I don't know. I can't tell people how to vote, but I do say vote your conscience, vote for the person that you feel is more fit, that you feel aligns more with your values, with your family's values. Like I said, I vote for people who don't have a voice. My kids, they can't vote yet. I have family members who are residents. They can't vote yet. I have family members who are DACA students. They can't vote yet. So I vote in their best interests. That's how I see it.
Thank you, Yvette. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean,
Go, Gabby.
Current resident in the office has already proven a lot of things that he can't handle, or has already slashed food stamps. Like that was one of the first things I worked on, trying to protect food stamps for our folks, right? Already made it even harder to keep your Social Security disability benefits. That affects our older folks, right? So just, you're not sure, just someone's already shown their true colors and it's not looking too bright. So that's, what I would say. I think I would be a little bit more aggressive on what side to vote on, because a lot is at stake. So, not voting isn't an option.
Awesome. And the last question. Each panelist have a very powerful story. What advice would you offer young women who are interested in advocacy and equity? Maria, we're going to start with you.
I think internships, getting your actual experience is a good option. Sometimes this work is not for everyone, and we create this illusion of I'm going to change the world and I'm going to do it and I'm going to swallow the whole world and it's going to be mine and I feel so young and I'm going to do it. And but sometimes you need to actually get the experience and be on the front line and experience it for yourself, and then you can decide if this is the work for you. Sometimes being in the front line is not for everyone, but you could still be helpful and share and spread advocacy in other ways. But a career in this is very particular. It's not for everyone. So getting that experience firsthand and very young would be beneficial for you to do so.
Gabriella?
Yeah, I mean, I worked on campus a lot. I had like 3 jobs at one time. I was an intern at a couple of different places too. I always had people in my corner, right? Like I was, Dr. Hertz from the Office of Community Partnerships was my first boss, really. Sitting in Dean Stroy's office trying to figure, I didn't have parents who went to college or, you know, first person in my family to go to college, university, whatever. I had really strong mentors. Dr. Moore too, you know, just EOF. I was an EOF student, right? So I was first generation low income student. Those folks helped me really figure out my career path and helped place me in different internships too, where I got, you know, we're working too with this wealth gap, right? We don't have the same connections, you know, honestly, prestigious white counterpart Ivy Leagues have, but we do have a real community at Rutgers North. Like, you reach your hand out, someone's gonna grab it and someone's gonna help, you know, help you find your way. So yeah, definitely what Maria said, like figuring out what you like early on. Like, I know my resume when I applied for law school was so long, not because like I hop around from job to job, because I got a chance to do so many different, you know, internships and experiences. And law schools and, you know, graduate schools, they look at that. They see, you know, have you had some real world experience? You didn't just go straight through. And it's valued, I think. I even helped my conversations in law school too, right? Like, I worked at a child advocacy center. And I did a lot of other things. I was a tutor too, like was a director. And helped lead Rutgers Future Scholars. So there was a lot, but I think Rutgers is a really special place. Rutgers, Newark, especially SPAA.
Thank you, Gabriella. Yvette.
So I encourage students to volunteer. I found that my best work experience I learned when I was a volunteer. My very first volunteer job was in high school, and I was a candy striper at a hospital. And that's where I think I fell in love with the healthcare field. And then I met people, right? Through my volunteer work, I met doctors who became my mentors, and they encouraged me to keep going. And so, you know, I love the idea of getting internships. It's kind of around the same, you know, the same thing, right? If you're, let's say right now, you're not able to apply for an internship, volunteer somewhere where you think might interest you. Well, whether it's at a hospital or even at a college. I'm sure that Rutgers takes volunteers for all kinds of different departments. And you'll learn a lot from, you know, your bosses and your mentors. They become your mentors. And mentorship, I think, is key. I don't think, for me personally anyway, I wouldn't be where I am without my mentors. You know, and I think they all came from, like I said, my volunteer work, you know, internships, my part-time jobs. So I really appreciate all of the mentors that I had at Rutgers, and, you know, the volunteer opportunities that I had along the way. And I'm still volunteering, right? I volunteer for Lupe. I volunteer for the League of Women Voters. So I think volunteerism is very powerful.
And Sarah, what advice?
Everything everyone said was great. It was great. But the thing you've got to identify is a mentor. You need that mentor, that person that believes in you, because that is where it starts. Believe in yourself that you can do it. If you see somebody's doing it, I can do it, and I can do it even better. I think our self-confidence, sometimes we feel so insecure because, you know, we're not so strong in this subject, or I need to do this. No, you don't. No, you don't. You need to believe in yourself, work hard, get it done. The volunteerism is great. You know, I volunteered, but very late in life, but it was a great experience for me in a nonprofit. I just cold called and said, hey, I would like to volunteer in your immigration department. And I volunteered there because it was important to me. I wanted to see if that was something I liked, if that was something I wanted to get into. So that's how I started doing that. But of course, the volunteerism, but you got to believe in yourself and have a dream and a vision and just go for it. Take risk. That's the one thing I would tell my younger self, is to take more risk.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, ladies. As we close out, just in symbolic Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to say thank you to Sarah, Gabriella, Maria, and Yvette. Your inspiration, your remarks, your questions, your responses, your commitment, not just to the Latino community, but to all communities. So on behalf of Dean Minifield, the faculty, staff, and students in SPAA, Thank you for being a part of our family. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Be safe, wash your hands, wear your mask. Don't forget to vote. On behalf of our attendees, thank you for joining us. Everyone, have a good night.